Well, welcome everyone. I'm Joni Ogg, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today for this sure-to-be fantastic webinar featuring our very own travel professional community business expert, Jeff Millar. Now, Jeff and his lovely wife, Sharon, operate a very successful agency in Arizona, and we thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your expertise with everyone. You know, I read this quote from the Dalai Lama today, and if it's true, Jeff, you are going to live a very, very long, long time, my friend, and it is share your knowledge. It's a way to achieve immortality. So now I'm going to turn over the reins to yet another amazing person and a dear friend and agent who also gives her wisdom so freely to all of us in the community, and that is our very own webinar coordinator, Sandy Elson. Sandy?
Thanks so much, Joni, and thank you for your very nice words. And good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are. As Joni said, my name is Sandy Elson, and on behalf of the travel professional community and homebasedtravelagent.com, I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar, and thank you as well for taking time out of your busy days to be here with us. We really have a very exciting webinar in store for you today. Most of you know our guest speaker, Jeff Millar from our travel professional community. Jeff's topic today is how to really qualify and educate potential clients made easy. And I know that qualifying clients and closing sales because you're doing the qualification the right way is something that comes up very often on our community. So Jeff's here to tell us all about it. Jeff Millar and his wife Sharon are co-owners of Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel. Jeff has been involved in sales for the past 29 years as a salesperson, sales manager, and vice president of sales with a few Fortune 500 companies like Boeing. Jeff and Sharon started Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel in 2003 and together have built a very successful travel business, as you all know. Before we get started, please remember that we welcome your questions. You are all muted at the moment, but you're invited to type in your questions at any time in the question area you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. At the end of Jeff's presentation, we'll get to as many questions as we can. So now I'm going to turn the microphone over to Jeff so he can get started. I'll be back a little bit later to ask Jeff some of your questions. Welcome, Jeff. It's great to see you here again.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sandy and Joni. I really feel that sales and how to qualify clients is one of the best ways to get and to really make sure that the clients you're dealing with are in the market for actually buying something. But I'm going to start by telling you, as Joni and Sandy both said, I am co-owner of Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel. We started the business in 2003. We are a highly specialized agency. The only two products we sell are all-inclusive resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean, and we sell Hawaii. We have found that has been a big factor in our success simply because we know the products we sell inside and out, and we can transfer that knowledge to our clients. We do in excess of $5 million a year in annual travel sales, and 98% of our sales come from our specialty. And we do market and sell on a national basis. Now, I want to kind of preface the presentation with a little story about how we got where we are today in the travel industry. And I'm sure there are a number of people on here who remember the days before the internet where agencies basically had a geographical territory and they were the experts for travel in that little geographical territory. And if clients in that area wanted to travel, they went to their travel agent because the travel agent was the keeper of the knowledge for booking travel. And all of a sudden along came the internet. And what it really did was open that magic box to everybody. So now everybody has access to that information. The problem comes up with the fact that most of the people out there don't know what to do with that information. That's where we come into play, is being able to help them sort through that information and tell them what is good information, what's bad information, what's incorrect information. So that has forced us to become, to a certain extent, educators. The other thing that it's forced us to do is, because people can book their own travel and they seem to think it's the easiest thing in the world to do, it has forced us to become salespeople. And by salespeople, the product we sell, you may be surprised to know, is not travel. Travel can be purchased by clients in thousands of different places. And I tell people, go on to Google, Yahoo, any of the search engines, and type in the word travel agent as a search term. And on Google, the last time I looked, it would bring up 26,650,000 places people can buy travel. So what we really sell, and the unique product that we have to sell, is ourselves. Ourselves, our experience, our knowledge, and our service. Those are the unique products that we can sell. And then from that, we now provide travel to our clients. So I think we have to kind of change our mindset, is that we're not selling travel, we're selling ourselves. Move on. The points we're going to cover in here are going to be answering the phone. Why is that important? How do you want to answer the phone? How do you transition to the next step once you answer the phone? What that opening, we're going to cover what the opening conversation should be. We're going to talk about how do you educate a potential client on you and your business. Again, keeping in mind, that's the only unique product that you have to sell. Then we're going to go through the qualifying questions for the potential client. What questions do you need to ask and do you need to receive answers for in order to make two decisions? Number one is this a client I want to work with? And number two is, okay, what am I going to recommend to this client based on the answers that I received from these questions? Then we're going to look at educating the client on the product that they're looking for, again, based on the qualification step. So as you see, when we go through this, you'll see that we actually don't even talk about travel until towards the end of the session. And then what we're going to look at is we're going to look on how do they set up the next step once I've qualified that client. This is just a kind of a simple thing. Is the area we're going to deal with is the area on top where you see all those balls. Those are all the people that call you, that send you emails. They all get dumped into this funnel. Through the qualification process, what you're going to end up with is qualified leads coming out with that mass of potential opportunity, and then out the bottom, you're going to have closing. So you can see sales is a numbers game. The more balls you can put in the top of this funnel, the better chance you have of more balls coming out the bottom of that funnel as actual sale closures. So we're going to focus on that top portion of the sales funnel. Answering the phone, why is that important? It's, answering the phone is answering the phone, but it really isn't, because when you answer the phone and the client's or a potential client's on the other end, what you're doing is setting the tone for the conversation that's going to follow. This is also, it's the first impression that client has of you. So if you answer it in a pleasant, smiling voice, you are going to start to begin to develop a good relationship with that client, rather than, and I've heard it before, and I'm sure we've all heard it, when they answer the phone, it makes you feel like you're bothering them by calling them. So it's the first step in building the potential client's confidence in you and your business, which is what you want to do. I don't care how much technology we have in this business. This is still a person-to-person business. People buy from people they like. So your job from the time you answer the phone is to start building a good relationship with that client. Now, how should you answer the phone? You should be pleasant, confident, polite, and businesslike. And I put in businesslike simply because how many calls have we taken where the first thing's out of the guy's mouth, he starts talking like he's your best friend? And that is not the case. I don't know this person from Adam, yet they're talking to me like they've known me for years. To me, that is not a professional business way to answer the phone. The other is smile when you answer the phone, because believe me, it does come through when you're smiling than if you have a frown. And I even tell people, if you're in a bad mood or you're having a bad day, it might be better to not answer the phone and let it go to voicemail than answer the phone with that attitude. I even say that to a certain extent, we're not only salespeople, but we're actors. And we have to be on, like actors are when they're on the stage. We have to be on when that phone rings. So what we're going to do is now transition. You've answered the phone, transition to the next step. The next step is asking the client what you can do for them. And we have a rule here in our agency that the way they answer the phone is, hello, this is Jeff Millar with Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel. How may I help you today? Or we have one agent say, how may I serve you today? But you're asking an open-ended question to get the client talking, but you're doing it in a very polite, business-like way so that they feel confident and they feel warm in giving you the answers that you want. Again, you're starting to develop that relationship. Once you ask that question, do not interrupt. Just listen to what the client has to say. And they're going to give you a lot of information. And that's what qualifying the client in sales is about, getting as much information as you can, again, before you decide if you want to work with that client, or if you do, what you're going to recommend and how you're going to work with that client. Once they finish talking, a good thing to do is repeat back to them what you heard. That reinforces, number one, that you were listening. It reinforces, number two, that you understood what the client asked you. Now is the point you're going to start asking questions to better understand what they're looking for. Questions in sales can be two types of questions. They can be open-ended questions or closed-ended questions. An open-ended question would be, where did you go on your last vacation? Because you're asking the client to provide you a litany of information about their last vacation. A closed-ended question would be, did you enjoy your last vacation? That is a yes or no answer. So that's a closed-ended question. These are tools in that sales tools kit that you can use to guide the customer and control the conversation where you want it to go. In these instances, you want to be polite, you want to be friendly, but you want to control the situation as you're going through this process. Take notes, and I learned this a long time ago the hard way is, and we all do it, is we're talking to a client and we say, okay, well, I'll remember that. And then you hang up from the client and you think, oh my God, what did the client ask me for? I don't remember. And sometimes you end up calling them back saying, I don't remember what you said. Can you please go over that again? So take notes from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. Now, this is the first opportunity to end this call and divorce yourself from this client. And why do I say that? In our instance, we only sell two products. So if a client calls and says, I want a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas, well, first of all, we don't do cruises. And if we did do cruises, we wouldn't do 3-day cruises to the Bahamas. So what I can do is politely end that call with that client and tell them, we would love to help you, but that is not what we specialize in. We specialize in all-inclusive resorts, and we specialize in Hawaii vacations. If you're interested in that, I'd love to work with you, but if you're looking for a 3-day cruise, you need to find an agent that specializes in that. Or I may have an agent in a particular area that I know that I'll refer that client to. We do that, and that's one way we've grown the business is by bringing on ICs that have different areas of specialization than we do. That way we can expand our product base, but we still stay true to our specialization business model. So now you've decided, okay, I want to continue this call. They're asking for something I do, so we're going to transition to the next step. Educate the client. Again, we haven't talked about specific travel yet other than what the client may have told you, but you're going to educate the client about you and your business. And again, as I said in the beginning, clients can buy travel from multiple sources. So that is not the product that we sell. That's not a unique product. The unique product you sell is yourself. So what you need to do is sell yourself and why they should buy from you. What makes you different than the competition? That is the huge thing, because if you cannot define what makes you different from the competition, I guarantee you it's going to do one thing. It's going to drive the decision-making process to price. And it'll do that because at that point, if you haven't differentiated yourself, the only way you can differentiate yourself is through price. So it doesn't drive it to value. It doesn't drive it to anything else, but the only thing different that they will see between all the competition is going to be price. And you don't want to do that. You want to sell on value, not on price. Here's where you'd use your expanded elevator speech. An elevator speech is nothing more than who you are, what you do, and why they should buy from you. Now, your expanded elevator speech is really just taking those same topics and expanding on them. But that's what you need to accomplish with this client is, who are you? What do you do? Do you specialize? Yeah, I specialize in what you exactly what you want to buy. So now, and then why should they buy from you? Again, that's going to differentiate you from the competition. The two areas that are the strongest areas to focus on are your experience and your knowledge, because that's really what you're selling the client is experience and knowledge. You're not selling them travel. You're not selling them a package. I can go anywhere and buy a package. You're selling them experience and knowledge. Stress the knowledge of the product they're looking for. This is where specialization helps, because I can tell you from experience, and I'm not bragging, but in our agency, I would put any of our salespeople against any salespeople in regards to all-inclusive resorts in Hawaii, simply because they focus on those products, they visit those products, they know them inside and out. So what you're going to do is stress the knowledge of that product. I'm the expert in all-inclusive resorts, if that's what they're asking for. And here's why I'm the expert in all-inclusive resorts. We've been doing it for 13 years. We visit every one of the resorts we sell. You can't, and you don't want to say this, but you kind of try to infer that if you go online, you're not going to understand what is good information, bad information, or misinformation. What we're going to do is help you sort through that and come out with a vacation that meets your requirements or exceeds your requirements, fits your budget, so you know you've purchased a good vacation, rather than going online and going through that process and then wondering if you purchased a good vacation. Mike Going of FunJet, president of FunJet, has a good saying is, how cheap does a bad vacation have to be before it's worth it? So those are the kind of things that we're trying to stress, and those are the kind of things that are going to differentiate yourself from the competition. Stress the service you're going to provide, the unique things that you do for your clients that other people don't do for their clients. Service, it's interesting, and I came upon a point of selling to millenniums. Service is not high on their priority list. And I said, well, why is that? It is because they've grown up in a generation where they really haven't received good service, so they don't know what good service is. So they don't put that high on their priority list, because in their mind, I'm going to receive mediocre service no matter who I deal with. Use real-life stories to demonstrate. That's the best way you can demonstrate experience. Oh, yeah, I had a family the other day that's in exactly the same situation you were. We put together a great vacation package. They went to this resort. They did this. They went on this tour. The kids did this. Now, again, you're cementing that relationship with the client, and you're demonstrating your knowledge by using real-life stories. So you want to sell yourself and your agency and make it feel to that client that you're a unique entity that's different from anybody else they're going to talk to. I always tell our salespeople, I want you, you're going to lose sales, but if you lose sales, I want the client to feel bad about not going with you. And that is your goal, is to generate and develop a relationship with that client to the point that if they don't go with you, they feel bad about not going with you. And we've had that where people have called up and said that, you know. And we've had people said we're not going with you, and then they thought about it and called back an hour later and said, we are going to go with you. Another thing in sales, do not speak negatively about the competition. What you want to do is understand your competition well enough that you can use your positive points to sell against their negative points without telling the client that they're a bad fit. You never want to. I mean, this is a big no-no in the sales industry is talking that negatively about the competition. Sell your positive points against their weak points is how you work against the competition. If somebody, I mean, you can say somebody is, now if you book with us, we have a payment plan. You only do a down payment. Your payment is not, final payment's not due till 45 days before you travel, and you can make payments in between. That is selling against a negative that the online companies have, that you have to pay 100% up front. That's how you combat the competitors, using your strong points against their weak points without negatively talking about the competition. Now, if you charge fees, introduce them at the end of this process, not before this process. I had somebody that called me and said, I called an agent, and the lady that answered the phone told me she couldn't talk to me until I paid her $75. Well, I mean, that's not the way to do it, because in the client's mind, well, what am I getting for that $75? So go through this process in detail before you announce your fees. Qualifying, now we're going to get into the qualifying questions. And think about this. It's not the question you ask, but how you ask the question. You can approach negative things in positive ways. I mean, a good example of this is when asking for the budget. People say they have a hard time. I would say we have no problem with 98% of our people giving us a budget. And those that don't give us a budget, to be honest with you, we won't work with them. But it's how you ask that question, not necessarily the question you asked. You're going to ask these questions to determine if they're a real potential client. Determine if you want to work with them. I always had sales managers that really enforce that my time is as important as that client's time is. So I'm not going to waste time with somebody that isn't qualified or doesn't want to do business with me. What we're going to do is go through the qualifying questions, number one, to determine is it somebody you want to work with, and number two, to start formulating a plan of how you're going to work with them and what you're going to recommend. And it does require answers to questions that may appear hard to ask. But again, go back to it's not how you ask, it's not what you ask, but how you ask the question. We're going to go into 2 pages of key information you want to gather during this step. What type of vacation experience are they looking for? Again, as everybody knows, in our business with the resorts, every resort, even the ones within a certain chain, cater to a different type of clientele. Some resorts have good beaches, some resorts don't have good beaches, some resorts have better food than others. So they're all different. What you want to know is understand what experience are they looking for on this vacation, destination wedding, honeymoon, whatever it may be. Where have they visited in the past? That is more for you because it's going to tell you the quality of resort they've stayed at, the type of vacation they've had. So again, it's going to formulate, okay, these people say they want to stay at 5-star resorts, but they stay at Holiday Inns. Okay, that tells me in their mind a Holiday Inn is a 5-star resort. So now it's going to temper the recommendations you're going to give them by understanding where they've stayed in the past. What did they like or dislike about it? Again, it's going to help you narrow down what you're going to recommend to that particular client. When did they last go on vacation? This became very apparent to me as a question we need to ask because I talked to somebody and they had gone on vacation 10 years ago, and when I gave them the price, they almost fell over because they're looking at, I want to go on vacation. Here's what I spent on my last vacation, which is now triple to go on the vacation today. So it's good to know when did they go on the last vacation. That way when you give them the price, you can at least make sure they're sitting down. Where do they want to go? That's important. Where do they can go? In our case, it's the case of explaining to them again, using our knowledge that most of the all-inclusive resorts are going to be Jamaica, Dominican Republic, and Mexico, and some of the outer islands have some too. And basically Central America is becoming a new big area. So where do they want to go? And you want to narrow that down because you can't give them quotes for every resort in the whole world. Is there a place they don't want to go? And that's a good way to follow up is, okay, and we get a lot of people, I don't want to go to Mexico. Okay, well, why don't you want to go to Mexico? And I had one girl call me and said, well, because they're killing everybody in Mexico. And I said, well, then that's probably a good idea not to go to Mexico because there isn't going to be anybody there. So those are the kind of things that you really want to know, not only where do they want to go, but where don't they want to go, and try to make some logic of that. Again, it's narrowing down. You can use your expertise to sell them or recommend certain areas, because you not only should be an expert on the resorts you sell, the cruises you sell, but the destinations that they're going to visit. And that's becoming more important. More and more people we talk to are interested in the destinations as much as they are the resort. So you really have to become a specialist on not only the resorts, but the destinations that these resorts are located in. When do they want to go? That's going to help you from a pricing standpoint, simply because, as you know, there are high seasons, there are low seasons. So when you want to go, you should be starting, if you're a specialist, when I'm asking these questions, I'm already formulating what I'm going to recommend to this client before we even get through with this process. And that's one of the pieces of information that's going to help you. When do they want to go? Can you, instead of going in Christmas, can you go in May? Because May is certainly going to be a lot less than Christmas. Where are you coming from? What airport are you coming from? Again, that's going to have an impact on price because of the flight cost from where they're coming from. How many nights do they want to stay? Again, it's going to impact the price. Whether they want to stay 5 nights, 7 nights. I get people say, well, I want to go 5 nights, but if I get 7 nights for the same price, I'll take that. And well, your logic's a little bit off, but okay, we'll look at that. And are they seeing anything that interests them? This is a question a lot of people don't want to ask simply because they know the answer is that they're out there looking. I guarantee you, we did a test with I said, okay, we're going to take the first 50 people to call and we're going to ask them, are you out there looking on your own? And 49 of those people said yes. So they are out there looking, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. It helps me because now, have you seen anything? I can further demonstrate my knowledge by saying, oh yeah, we're seeing this resort and it says 5-star and it says, well, that's not a 5-star resort. That's a 3-star resort that's masquerading as a 5-star resort. Oh, I didn't know that. You realize that resort doesn't have a beach on the ocean. Oh, I didn't know that. And you get a lot of, oh, I didn't know that. When you get those, that's great because you're now educating that client and you're demonstrating your expertise. When do they plan on making a decision and purchasing? This is, to me, is a very important question because, especially now, is somebody says, well, I want a quote for this, 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 and this, and you get them a quote and you don't hear from them. Well, when you call them, you find out, well, we're waiting for our tax refund. Well, guess what? That quote you gave them last week is not going to be any good by the time they get their tax refund. So they at least need to know that. You can give them that quote and they can use that as a guideline, but they at least need to know that that price is probably not going to be the same when they're ready to purchase. Again, what are we doing? We're demonstrating our expertise and our knowledge. Again, developing a relationship with that client as we go along. Are they working with anyone else? And that's fine. I don't have a problem with them, but I like to know if they're working with somebody else. And based on that, if they are working with anyone else, brings up the next question. Do you already have prices, and where did you see those prices? This is the one where the biggest misconception with the clients always comes in. Because, well, I saw one for $688 for this. I said, okay, that sounds awful low, but where did you, well, it said from $688. Did that include air? Oh, yeah. Okay, now how did they know, unless you put it in, how do they know where you're coming from? And I will tell you that from $688 is from Miami. You live in Miami. No. Okay, well, your air is going to go out. What you need to do is go through the whole process to the end of the process. Again, it demonstrates your knowledge. And if they have prices, that's fine. What price did you see? And where did you see it? Because I'm going to go on and look myself and see if that is the actual price. Because I would say probably 50% or more of the people don't go to the end of the process, so they're not really seeing the actual price. Another one, a good one to ask is, what factors are going to influence your decision on who they book with? Are you looking strictly at price? Are you looking at value? Are you looking at, and a lot of times you're going to get the answer price is going to be the deciding factor. And I say, okay, now the way we operate, and I'm hoping this is the way you're thinking, is we will find the best resort that fits your criteria, is within your budget. It's one that you're going to have a great time to. Now, once you decide, yes, that's where I want to go, now we'll go look for the lowest price for you. But don't let price just be your initial deciding factor. If they say, nope, I just want the cheapest resort, I don't care what quality is or anything, that's a client you probably need to divorce yourself from, because they can go, anybody, if you stay on the internet long enough, you'll find something cheaper. I have had clients that will call back and they're quibbling over $5. Is that a client you really want to continue doing business with? So you really need to know what factors are they going to use when they evaluate who they're going to book with. And do you meet those factors? And if you don't, or you don't feel comfortable, then that's probably a client that you want to get rid of and not work with. The one in here, I think I missed cost, is what amount of money do they not want to exceed? That is a critical question. We honestly we won't deal with somebody unless they give us a budget. And again, it's not what you ask, it's how you ask it. We have one agent that has a great way to do it. She says, I'm a shopper, and I'm going to be out shopping for your vacation, and I love to spend money, so can you give me a figure that you don't want to exceed when you're booking your vacation? If you do something like that versus just saying, what's your budget, they're more than likely to give you your budget with that second question than they are the first question. So again, think about, it's not what you ask, but how you ask it. We never ask what's your budget. We always, at the very minimum, ask what amount do you not want to exceed on this vacation. And I would say, like I said, 98% of the time we have absolutely no problem with somebody giving us the budget. Okay, once you've got all this information in detail, what you want to determine is if any of the answers to the questions were unreasonable. Was the budget unreasonable? Were the number of nights unreasonable? And I'm not saying we eliminate these people because of that, but you go to the next question, which is, are they flexible on those items? You have a budget, 7 nights is impossible for that budget, but you might be able to do 5 nights. If you don't go during spring break, but you postpone it and go in May, it's going to be a lot less than going during spring break. So can you move your vacation? Can you lower the number of nights? Can you increase your budget? Think outside the box and give them options. It doesn't mean if the answers to the questions were unreasonable, it doesn't mean that they're bad clients. You just need to adjust the product and educate them on the fact of what they're going to get for the money that they want to spend. At this point, you would make a decision. If they came back and said, we want to spend $500 a person with air for 7 nights, and we're not flexible on the dates, the budget, or anything, boom, this is probably, again, a client that you say you might be better served with somebody else, because in the products that we deal in, you're not going to be able to get that for that price. So you walk away from that client. And I would run away from that client, actually. But and if you want to continue with them, start prioritizing where this person or this opportunity fits in your list of opportunities you're working. Is it at the bottom? Is it at the top? We'll get people where their budget, they're not flexible, but their budget is kind of on the border. Well, guess what? They're going to go to the bottom of the priority list. So you need to prioritize your opportunities based on this information. Now's a good time to use a trial close. And what a trial close is, where you ask for the order, but you know you're probably going to get a no, or you're not going to get the order at that time. But what you're going to get is a whole lot of information that you can use. And a good trial close is if I can find a vacation that fits your criteria, is within your budget, you love the look of the resort and the feel of the resort, are you prepared to buy it at this time? And chances are at this point in the process, you're going to get a, well, no, we aren't, but that's when you want to listen, is all the buts on this thing. We have 2 other people that go, oh, I didn't know that. You have 2 other people, so we need to coordinate with them. So you're going to get a lot of information when you do trial closes that you may not get just by going through the order of things. Or that's where you're going to get, well, yeah, but we can't do anything till we get our tax refund. So again, people will give you this information, but they're not going to just offer it. You have to ask for it. So what you do then is answer any objections that come out of the trial close. This is where knowing your product line helps, is basically because, and I will tell you, by the time I go through this full qualifying with a client, people say, well, how much time do you spend on research? I don't spend any time because I know the products that we sell, and I already have 3 or 4 resorts I'm going to recommend to this person off the top of my head. So the only thing I have to research is the price. Since specialization, that's all we deal in. We don't do anything else. Now what you're going to do is transition into product education now that you've got. So now we're going to start to talk about with the client the travel portion of the travel portion of the sales pitch. And you use this to further sell the client on your product knowledge and experience. Remember, those are the 2 things, unique products that we have to sell. I've even gone online with clients to show them an example. I said, from all this, I have a great idea of what you're thinking. Let's go online. Are you in front of your computer? Let's go online and look at this resort. And I'll bring it up, and I know the resort's website's inside now, so I can say, okay, click on here. Now, is this what you're talking about? Is this what? And they can say, yeah. Oh, well, no, I didn't. I really wanted a better beach than that. Okay, more information. So go online. Don't be afraid to go online and show them. But again, you've got to know the details of what you're showing them. Use examples such as resorts you visited. Again, personal experiences. Oh, yeah, I visited this resort and this and this and this. Now, did you know that resort is a great resort, but it doesn't have a beach on the ocean? Oh, well, that was one of our important factors because we want to go up, walk up and down along the ocean. Well, okay, so maybe we ought to look at another resort. Again, you're gathering as much information, you're demonstrating your knowledge and your expertise, and you're developing a relationship with this client. Another thing I do is because we deal in 2 product lines, we will get virtually the same questions from every client. And it's really kind of neat when I go through and answer those questions before they even ask the questions. That really cements your knowledge of the product. And I had somebody tell me that, wow, you answered all my questions. I didn't even ask the questions. So if you have that knowledge, again, that is something that the competition can't do at all. So basically, go through and use, if you can answer questions, I know if I'm recommending all-inclusive resorts, they're going to ask these 5 questions. I don't care who they are. So I'll answer those questions before they even ask the questions. So you use examples of the resorts you visited, trips you planned for other people, use real-life situations. That really gets people talking. And start to become a little warmer and friendlier with the client then, because now you're developing a personal relationship with that potential client. Also explain the steps of how you formulate a quote and recommendations. We're going to recommend 3 or 4 resorts. We don't like to recommend more than that because it tends to confuse clients. And we're going to put that in a quote form where you will not only see the price, but you will have something you can click on to view the resort. I'm going to call you once I send that to you to make sure you got it, because so many emails go to people's spam. And then what I'm going to do is give you a couple of days, and I'm going to follow up to see what your reaction is going through that. Are we on target of what you want? Do you have any questions? Should we look at something else? Should we do it? And so explain that whole process that you're going to go through. and then explain the process for booking. Once we commit, get it down to one resort, all I need are your passport names and dates of birth. I can go in and hold it for 24 hours, which gives you 24 hours to think about it before you have to put money down. Again, selling against the competition without knocking the competition. At that point, all you put down is a down payment, and the balance isn't due till 45 days before you travel. Using things like that, again, you're selling against the competition. You're not knocking the competition. You're demonstrating your knowledge. You're demonstrating your experience, and you're developing a relationship with the particular client. Finalizing the education qualification. Recap each qualification and education section and what both parties have agreed upon. Again, helps develop that relationship because it shows you've been listening and you understand what the client is saying, and you get an agreement so there's no misunderstandings. You did this, you went all through this, and then you sent me quotes, but I really wanted an ocean. I told you I wanted an oceanfront room, and you sent me all garden view rooms. So make sure you have all that information. They agree with it. Get agreement on all the points that were covered. And always, another sales thing is if you leave one thing, which is this phone call, and you're leaving that phone call, always set an appointment for the next step and get an agreement on that next step. Never leave the phone call without setting the next step that you're going to do with that client, whether it's follow up by phone, email, whatever you're going to do with that client. What you should do after the call or the appointment: review your notes, make any corrections in your notes, or in my case is basically write it out again so I can read it because it's illegible when I'm talking to the client. Prioritize that opportunity with all your other opportunities so that you know when you're going to work on that. And that what's a nice thing is send a thank you email, thanking them for the opportunity to work with them. That's always a good, and it's something that most people aren't going to do. And it shows them that you really have their best interest at heart. What we're going to close with on here is some general sales tips that I've learned through my career. Let's look at close ratio. And what that means is of all the leads you get, how many of those are going to close and become actual sales? National close ratio for all industries is 12%. That means out of every 100 leads you get, you're going to close 12 of them. A good close ratio for travel sales is, and it's not a close ratio of qualified leads, this is the close ratio of all the leads you get. A good close ratio should be around 25 to 30% of all the leads. Some of those leads you're going to get rid of. Some of those leads, unfortunately, are going to go buy from somebody else, but you should be able to close 25 to 30% of them. Selling hints. Extended elevator. If you don't have an elevator speech, I know Joni and Tom really talk about this on the board. If you don't have an elevator speech, develop an elevator speech telling people who you are, what you do, why you do it. It's basically a short speech that sells your business. Sell yourself before discussing products. So many times I've talked to agents where I go, and this is what I want, boom, boom, boom. Oh, okay, well, I know I've got 5 resorts I think they're going to fit exactly what you want. Well, you haven't qualified the customer. You haven't sold yourself. You haven't gone through the proper steps to be able to. And I actually had somebody call me and say, I talked with an agent. They jumped into all these products, and they didn't really take the time to even understand what we were looking for. So make sure you sell yourself, you qualify the client, you qualify what they're looking for before you start launching into selling somebody a product. Be pleasant, friendly, but businesslike. Very important. You are not their best friend. They are a potential client of yours. You can become friends and develop into friends, but at that point, you need to be businesslike, pleasant, and smile. Remember, we're not selling cemetery plots. We're selling travel. So smile. Be pleasant when you're doing it. Be enthusiastic. Develop a relationship with that client because that's something that nobody can compete with that with you. If you develop a relationship with that client, nobody else has that relationship with them. competence. That's the key. Be confident. And that's the key in any sales is you have to be confident. You know what you're doing. Confident of your experience, confident of your knowledge, confident of your service, confident of your sales ability. Product knowledge. Very important in today's world because product knowledge is all over the internet. So not only product knowledge to be able to sell a client, but when the client, one of our best clients that we get are people who say, I've tried to go online and do this myself and I totally confused myself. That is a perfect client for us because we can, with our knowledge, we can help them sort through that information they got, demonstrate our experience, demonstrate our knowledge and our service, and we can make that fail because what we've done is just simplify the process for them. And they're sure they're going to get a good vacation again rather than wondering if they got a good vacation. Be organized. Travel is one of the industries that you have to be very organized because you're juggling a lot of balls, so you better be organized. Get agreement when you make points with clients. And I do this. I do this even when I'm doing sales presentations. I'll go over something and I'll ask, does that make sense? Do you understand that? Are there any questions? So get agreement with the points that you're talking to your client. Again, you're establishing a dialogue and a relationship. Always set the next appointment. Never leave one appointment without setting the next appointment. Keep time schedules agreed upon. This was something I wish my daughter were on here because she could learn this, is if you tell her we're going to do something at 8 o'clock, she'll show up at 9. So keep time schedules and agreement. Sell high and try to upsell. It's very hard if you sell and you go in at the entry level and then try to go up to the higher level and sell it. It's very easy to start at the higher level and come down. So always sell high and try to upsell people. For $200, I know you asked for a pool view, but for $200 more, I can get you an ocean view, which will benefit you this way, this way, this way, this way, and it's only $200. So try to upsell. Also, here's a point, and it's not on here, but it's critical, and I see it all the time. Sell to the client's budget, not to your budget. We get it. We'll get people, this person wants to go for 4 nights on Christmas time, and they want to spend $30,000. That's asinine. I wouldn't do that. Well, it's not your budget. Sell to their budget, not your budget. Ask for the order. Ask for the order. Ask for the order. Remember, people, we are salespeople. There are a whole set of people out there that will never buy anything unless they're asked for the order. They will keep coming up with questions. They'll keep extending it until you tell them, look, here's the products that fit what you want. Do any of these, do boom, boom. We need to get this held right now because time is running out, so ask for the order. There are people that want to be sold, and they won't buy anything if you don't sell them. They'll just keep dragging it out until either the opportunity goes away or somebody sells them something. Set the correct expectations. That's really what our job is about. Because I believe the internet and most of the companies on the internet do not set the correct expectations. Our job is to set the correct thing. The way we do it is we undersell and overdeliver. And that's the best way to set the correct expectations and have a happy client that comes back raving about everything you did for them. Because you undersold it, and when they got there, it was actually better than you sold it. So undersell and overdeliver. And at that point, we are through with it, and I guess Sandy, we're going to open it up to some questions.
Great. Thank you, Jeff, for that incredible information. This is really fabulous stuff. We do have several questions. We'll get to at least a couple of them. I want to remind our agents that Jeff is part of our travel professional community. So you see him on there often in the forum, asking and mostly answering questions. So if something is a burning question and you just can't sleep, remember you can always get in touch with Jeff on the community. Jeff, I hope that's okay. If people want to ask you saying a couple of things.
That's fine.
I also want to remind everyone that we are recording this webinar, so you can go back and hear all this amazing information again. You can access the recording right in our travel professional community. It'll be in our videos area in a couple of days. You can also go to www.homebasedtravelagent.com. and it will be up there. And also Tom Ogg has a YouTube channel, so he should be putting the recording up there as well. But definitely do check the travel professional community, and Jeff's recording should be up there. Let's get to a couple of questions. We had several questions about this whole issue of asking for a budget, and boiling it down to a couple of questions. What do you do if people either actually don't know what travel costs, so they don't know what their budget is, if they say, we just want to get the best bang for our buck? And if you decide you can't work with a client because of budget issues, how do you tell that to the client?
Okay, well, we'll start with the first part. I think getting to a budget, and there's a number of ways you could do it, because I will guarantee you, if I'm planning, and I think virtually everybody, if they're planning a vacation, they know how much they want to spend on that vacation. They may not want to tell you, but they know how much. I'll start with one scenario. People call up and say, well, I just want a deal. And that's the biggest one. I just want a deal. And I will tell them, and actually my wife Sharon came up with this, is tell them, okay, I got a great deal for you. It's $25,000. And they'll come back and they'll say, well, that's not a deal. Well, yes, it is, because it used to be $30,000. And they say, well, I don't want to spend that much. Okay, well, I've got another one that's $10,000. And it's a great deal because it used to be $50,000. Well, I don't want to spend that much. Well, how about there's one that's $5,000 and it used to be $7,000? And they'll say, okay, well, I guess we could spend that much. Okay, what have we done? We've just established their budget without asking them what their budget is. There's another way when people, and you'll get this with a lot of new travelers, they have no idea what something costs. First of all, that's going to alert me to the fact, are they serious about buying something if they don't know how much they want to spend? And they really don't know. Or are they just fishing to see if it's something they can afford? We have the luxury, because we know our products inside and out, that if a client says, I want to go for 7 nights, I'm going from here, and I want to stay in an oceanfront room at a 4-star resort, I can tell them off the top of my head, I can give them a range of what that's going to cost. You know, if you go for 7 nights for this, it's going to cost you about anywhere from $1,700 to $2,000 per person. Now, does that fit what you are looking at spending? Do you feel comfortable with that? And they'll say yes, or they'll say, we have to get back to you, which usually means no, but they're too embarrassed to tell you that it's no. So they'll say, well, we'll have to get back to you. But if you absolutely can't, give them a range and ask them, does that fit what you want to spend? Because most of those people that absolutely don't have a budget are just fishing to see if it's something they can afford. They're really not at that point. They may become serious about buying something, but at that point, they're not really serious about buying anything.
Okay.
Does that help?
It helps me. I assume it helps the
so
people
again,
who ask.
It comes back to not what you say, but how you say it.
Jeff, we have several agents who have clients who prefer conducting business over email or even over text message. Would you recommend that they definitely have to talk on the phone to get all of this accomplished, or is this all doable?
I do. I like that. Nobody's convinced me yet that and I haven't had a client that has demanded that. I've had clients that say we only want to be contacted by email. And what I'll do is send them an email saying, in order to make sure we can get the best vacation for you that fits your budget and contains everything in your criteria, we really need to discuss this. Can you give me a call, or can you give me your number so I can call you? So that's kind of the way, and we've never had a problem with that. And what we found that is if they do that and they don't get back to you, again, they're probably not serious about buying anything. I like to, honestly, I'm old school. I like to talk to them because I can go through this whole process that we just went through, and it's very hard to do that in an email or very hard to do that in a text message. So I think if you give them a good enough reason to speak with you on how, and you can demonstrate how that's going to help provide a better vacation for them, I think you could probably change maybe 80% of those. And the other 20% basically don't want to talk to you because if you think about it, you go online, it's very easy to fill out a form and send an email. There's no commitment there, but if I talk to somebody, all of a sudden I'm making a commitment. And I think that's what scares a lot of people. But it's got to make you wonder, are they serious about buying travel if they're afraid to make that commitment to talk to you?
Very good. Understood. We have time for one more question. I just want to tell our agents that Jeff has very generously not only agreed to or volunteered to do this webinar, but is reachable on the travel professional community. So again, he is open to having you ask some questions in the forum where he can answer them for everybody's benefit. Our last question is about service fees. You mentioned that you can't charge a fee too soon before the client is understanding that you're worth charging a fee, that you're knowledgeable and expert in your area. At what point during this process do you introduce a fee and not continue until the?
I think at the end of the sales process where you've sold yourself and your company. Base that when you're selling yourself and your company, base what you're telling them on leading up to charging a fee. So you kind of construct it and, here's why you want to use me. Here's what you're going to receive without saying anything about a fee, kind of listed on here's what you're going to receive over and above anything else. And then you can introduce the fee and you can, say something, look, we charge a 75, well, basically you're going to get 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.4, 0.5, and it's only going to cost you $75 to do that to make sure that we get the best vacation for you.
Fantastic. This
and
has
be
been
confident. When you talk about fees, the key to that is be confident. Don't be timid. If you're going to charge fees, be confident. Don't be timid.
Right. Good advice, as has all of this. I want to thank our speaker today, Jeff Millar, who, along with his wife, Sharon, are co-owners of Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel. Jeff, thank you so much for volunteering to do this and for imparting all of this information. If Joni's quote from the Dalai Lama is true, you'll live to be 1,000,000 years old. So thank you so much, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I just want to say I'm actually doing another webinar in March on managing your business by the numbers. And it's looking at the numbers your business generates and how you can use those numbers. So stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. And Joni will be sending out information about that webinar in March. And Jeff, we look forward to doing that one also. And I have to say thank you also to Joni and Tom Ogg for inviting Jeff on to do a webinar. This has been so helpful to so many agents and will continue to be helpful for our community's agents. So thank you to them as well. And again, I hope you all enjoyed this webinar. Our time is just about up. So I want to wish all of you a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.